Ugh. You want me to play a deck with cantrips in it? Oh, but it has Pyroglyph, though? Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, here for another Legacy video. And I would like to thank our donor for giving me this donation deck list. And I'm going to be incredibly vague here because my website is currently down for maintenance and I need to continue recording, so that's slightly awkward. So I will try to edit your name in at the end of the video if I remember, and super apologies for this. But basically, I was asked to play a blue-white X temporary lockdown deck list. And Temporary Lockdown is a neat card that has not seen a lot of play, not because it's bad, but because it has some pretty stiff competition. So let's compare our two options here. Option number one is Temporary Lockdown, which is what we're going to be playing today. When it enters, exile each non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less until it leaves the battlefield. So this is a Wrath. It'll get just about everything except lands, but can potentially be removed later by something random like a Boseiju for a massive blowout. Versus Wrath of the Skies. So let's compare this at 3 mana. So at 3 mana, you're going to get 1 energy, and then you can pay that 1 energy to destroy each artifact, creature, or enchantment with mana value less than or equal to 1. So these are different cards. Wrath of the Skies can be played at 2 mana and nuke some things like Urza's Saga or artifact lands in a way that Temporary Lockdown just isn't going to do. And this can be played out later for a larger X value to bank some bonus energy for things like Galvanic Discharge. And Wrath of the Skies is a honestly really neat option. I think this one is quite powerful. Is it better? Just like strictly speaking, better than Temporary Lockdown? No, but I think more pilots have their attention on Wrath of the Skies. I had trouble finding a starting deck list for Temporary Lockdown, so I'm going to use a starting deck list for a Wrath of the Skies build and just kind of adjust it. So I've slotted Wrath of the Skies out and Temporary Lockdown in, and in the main deck here, I've already subbed 1 Galvanic Discharge for 1 Path to Exile, and I'm thinking about whether or not I want to do more. The mana base is a little red heavier than normal to support Phlage, Titan of Fire's Fury, which gives you a Lightning Helix when you cast it and when it attacks. And this can be a very large amount of life gain. And I was initially drawn to this deck list because it just has some mid-range plan Bs, like play a Fable of the Mirror Breaker, loot through your bad cards, play PYROGOYF, copy PYROGOYF, kill your opponent. And, you know, that scratches a certain itch inside of me that just needs to be scratched. 1 Lightning Bolt, 1 Galvanic Discharge? The Galvanic Discharge is kind of interesting because, like, if you do it in multiples or you do it with Snapcaster later on, you can potentially do some neat things where you kill something that a normal Lightning Bolt might not. This is obviously much better if I'm also playing Wrath of the Skies. Let's try a couple out, see how they feel. I absolutely cut this consigned to memory already, and it came back. I wanted to have 3 of these in the 75. The starting deck list here had 2 of them in the main deck, which, while maybe not wrong, feels a little bit ambitious to me. Well, let's slot in 1 Spell Pierce and call that good. That gives us some different early game interaction. So Dress Down can be used to clear something like Urza's Saga tokens or occasionally remove a very important ability from a creature. And it can also be used so that we can just curve turn 2 Dress Down into turn 3 Phlage. The sideboard has some varied hate for Blue-Black Reanimator. It has a handful of blasts of different natures, and then a couple of sweet singleton cards that you might board in for, say, some slower matchups or some much faster matchups. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into a league here, see how this feels. We have a decent amount of finishers, so we're not going to just be farting around for a long time looking for a finisher. We'll probably have one, and we'll just be looking for the opportunity to cast it. If you need your Pyrogoyfs or your Comet Stellar Pups, please consider checking out TOAmagic.com and using promo code ThrabenU to save a little bit on your order. You are always going to get free shipping. Plus, there's a lot of cool cards from Foundations that you might want, or Foundations Jumpstart, which has awesome anime cards. Let's battle. Hey, Phil from the future here. There's some really cool rounds in this league, but they are long. I recommend round 3 if you want to see a very, very bizarre match of Magic, and I recommend round 5 if you want to see what this deck is really capable of when it's popping off hard. Alright, I have a reasonable but unexciting opening hand here where I'm more likely to be playing mid-range than control, kind of based on the look of things, but a turn 2 Brainstorm can really allow me to sculpt my hand to answer a lot of what we can see from the opponent. So in theory, finding some sort of interaction for Entomb Reanimate nonsense could potentially be important right now. I don't have Meticulous Archive. Okay. Should have adjusted the deck list more. Okay, that's cool. I believe that I have to just make a land drop and pass the turn, though. If I brainstorm and miss a blue card, and my opponent just entombs, it's kind of disastrous. Undercity Sewers. Force of Will. We're not brainstorming into Bowmaster right now. And I think between these 3 draws and a draw step, I am now willing to cast this spell. I mean, yeah, this is not optimal for me. I'll do it. Am I going to get stifled? No, I'm not going to get stifled. So I'll pay for this. I do have a new blue card. I'm probably just going to get rid of, like, land drop number 5 here and be okay with that. It's a little awkward that I don't have Teferi plus Force of Will right now. I don't think I get to play Teferi this turn. We'll go Plateau for variety and drop Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Cool, we get our friend. There is the Entomb. I think I'm just going to Force of Will that so that I'm not fighting over every reanimation spell for the rest of the game. Alright, there's another land. We're fine if this is just like a Psychic Frog. I have Prismatic Ending for that. Ooh. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to loot the Phlage to Graveyard. That's just some value. I'm probably going to keep the rest of this. Temporary Lockdown. A little awkward with my Goblin Shaman token here. So we need 2 different colors there. We very desperately need 2 different colors there. So let's attempt to Prismatic Ending this. Fantastic. I'll send in for 2. I have a Snapcaster Mage available off the treasure token if I need it, and then I can potentially start copying Snapcaster Mages later on, which is kind of hot. Undercity Sewers comes back. And it likes that one. I think I'm into just Snapcaster Brainstorm here. I think I am the aggressor here, which is weird. Grab another Tundra. Note that I am not expecting Bowmasters in game 1, given where the current builds of this deck are at. So that was safe or safe adjacent. Do I want to cycle this Lorien Revealed to get a shuffle? Just put back 2 lands, shuffle, get a fresh draw at something that can interact with an Entomb. I think this game is over before the Lorien Revealed matters. Let's do this. Set a stop here. Go ahead and island cycle. Pick up a new Volk. Oh, wow. All right, so are we going forth with our Aerlingas? And if so, how hard? I was just planning on casting Phlage. I think I still like post-combat Phlage. We keep the 4th Aerlingas as a surprise. I don't have the possibility of drawing into both Force of Will and blue card off 4th Aerlingas. So I don't think I need to worry about interaction on that front. Float black mana. Let this trigger resolve. Black mana empties pool. Confusing. White, white, red, red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Done. This is a gajillion D damage. So that's 3 to face. It alone represents 9 next turn. I still have Prismatic Ending off Snapcaster Mage available. If Temporary Lockdown if things get a little weird. We've got movement. It's scary movement. An Archon of Cruelty. So that's a reanimate that puts my opponent to 1. I have lethal on board by copying this. Sacrifice you. Discard you. Oh, right, there's the life gain associated with that. Phlage attack plus Phlage copy still does it. Not counting the 4th Aerlingas in my hand, which will also just do it. Also, as it stands, as of right now, just my attack triggers also do it. Fatal Push. This is currently lethal, not counting the 4th Aerlingas. I'll cast it anyway in case there is just some problem that I am not thinking about. I don't think I need to play around Spell Pierce. Just do this for X equals 3. Alright. Easily dead. We got a little bit of free time in the mid-game there. My opponent never put in any mid-range cards like a Psychic Frog or a Tameo or something that I had to dedicate resources to, so I just got to kill my opponent. So even if my opponent is not necessarily going to fully be on the graveyard plan, I probably still have to respect it. I'm into blasts regardless, and I am going to play some amount of this stuff. I'm not in love with the galvanic discharges here. Those can probably go. Temporary Lockdown misses a bunch of stuff. It can randomly hit Animate Dead. It can hit Psychic Frog. It can hit some pivot plans. This is a PYROGOYF. I have a lot of non-blue flex slots. My Force of Wills are not amazing. Can I board some out? Maybe. Please don't take my sideboarding with blue decks as gospel. Probably junk dress downs. Narset's kind of slow. Narset's kind of slow. With a surgical extraction, I think this is reasonable. Like, we have surgical, snap, surgical. I don't have early answers to creatures. My first answer to a creature is a turn 3 to Fairy Bounce, which is, maybe not the greatest, but is hopefully good enough. Sort of cursing the fact that there's not a Surveil Land in this deck. That's not really what I'm looking for. So just for reference, just the story time here. I tried to record this deck once previously, and something happened, and I was not able to start recording. I don't remember if it was people showing up at my house to go and work on some stuff or what, but my Magic Online decklist ended up getting lost due to an update or something like that. So I've rebuilt this deck a couple of times, and I did not look over the mana base carefully enough in this last iteration. That's on me. I own that. Alright, there's the fetch to shuffle that Brainstorm. Randomly surveil into Archon of Cruelty. Yep. I'm going to let something go on the stack, and then I'm going to attack that. Metamorphosis Fanatic. Uh-huh. That is also just fully blind. Cool. So, Surgical Extraction, target that. Pay 2 life. Alright. Take out an Archon. Is there anything interesting here? 2 of these. Harbinger of the Seas has been brought in. That's important to know about. Shoot the Sheriff as a flex slot. Harbinger of the Seas comes down next turn. Alright. There's our opponent's hand. Let's take a draw here. Pyroblast can answer Harbinger of the Seas. My opponent can reanimate it, which is kind of annoying. I could also just get basic mountain, basic plains, and kind of ignore it. I don't hate that. Let's do that. Our mana may end up being a little bit sketchy if my opponent top decks a Wasteland. So we're now working with 3 mana. I think I'm going to take the Metamorphosis Fanatic out of play and just shut off my opponent's instant speed interaction with my stuff, potentially digging a little bit deeper. Opponent just typed in chat G2G like they've got to go, and that happens sometimes. See what the next couple of draws would look like here. Totally fine versus Harbinger of the Seas, and there's no good targets for this stuff. We were in okay shape this game. We'd probably be looting through some stuff for the next couple of turns. That's not the most satisfying round 1. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. Just the best place to host your deck lists online, just full period. It is. And I can say lots of nice things about them, or I can just show you that I have 328 deck lists on this site, and I think that's about the best endorsement that I can give them. Alright, my opening hand is fine here. I think I'm just going to open up on a basic and go ahead and ponder. I know that I don't really want more mana. I'd like interaction of some kind, and Swords to Plowshares is reasonable interaction. I'm going to bury Snapcaster and hide Swords to Plowshares. It's possible that I should hide PYROGOYF in case my opponent just randomly thought seizes me while playing a Reanimator deck of some kind. Alright. We are playing against some sort of big mana Urza Planar Nexus Cloudpost style deck. So, Supreme Verdict is okay, but not really what I'm looking for. Phlage is fine. This deck doesn't have like the Blood Moon and Back to Basics that I might want to try to steal this. Do I have Harbinger in the sideboard? Negative. I have a Blood Moon. The Monolith resolves. Monolith resolves. Oh my god, my opponent has 6 mana and is passing the turn. That's pretty big. Alright, my Ponder shuffled. I don't need to just fetch to thin here. Prismatic Ending? I mean, it's interaction. Is it exciting interaction? No. No, it is not. I think I do it on a Monolith rather than a Vexing Bauble. My opponent didn't have anything to do on 6 mana on their last turn, unless they're about to just cast a Kozilek's Command here. No. Okay, cool. So we pass the turn with Galvanic Discharge available, which probably doesn't do much, and Swords to Plowshares. Fuck. Uh-huh. Yeah, no, you've got mana. Do you have the business? Can you give me the business? It feels like yes. 11 mana worth of business. Alright, that is a Kozilek's Command. My opponent gets a bunch of spawns. They left 2 floating. So they specifically want to be able to have 9 mana. Where's my temporary lockdown now? You can hit Planeswalkers? Confirm? Hello? Moto? Oh, the Moto Zoom is broken right now. Yeah, target creature or Planeswalker. The Moto Zoom is not broken. It is back. I feel gaslit. Liquid Metal Coating. Sure. This could have been far worse, honestly. We'll grab red. We'll discharge on the Karn. And now this coating doesn't really do anything. This Grim Monolith is at least temporarily tapped. I think I need to draw a card here. I need to hit my next land drop so that I can PYROGOYF and get the show on the road in terms of life total. Let's bounce a key out of play. Slow down this Grim Monolith nonsense ever so slightly. Miss a land drop. This is a damage report, Captain sort of situation where we just see how bad it is. Yes. This is presumably quite bad. That's a different key than before, yeah. Yeah, no, that gets countered. So now a card is cleared off the top. Untap. Make mana. Untap Forge. Clearing an Urza Saga, which is a pretty reasonable card. Sure. I feel like I'm going to just drown between the Mystic Forge and One Ring. Temporary Lockdown would be a fucking hit right now. Alright, a new key, so my opponent can immediately untap the One Ring and start doing crimes. Supreme Verdict not really doing it here. With most of my cards not really having a meaningful impact on the game, I think I'm just going to concede. The One Ring Mystic Forge together with 3 keys, I think means just not worth my time to continue this one. So Consigned to Memory is hot here. Blood Moon is hot. Deafening Silence might be fine, although it makes Snapcaster Mage a little awkward. Force Negation is probably fine. I have 6 things that I'm thinking about. I can probably go down on spot removal a little bit. Narset's actively good. Galvanic Discharge does the thing versus Karn that we just saw it do, while still killing Glaring Fleshraker. Probably going to go down a Path to Exile. Dramatic Ending is still definitely relevant. Maybe go down some mid-range cards. I don't know, Snapcaster Consigned to Memory is like actively good. Although again, doing that alongside Deafening Silence is absolutely awkward. Get rid of Supreme Verdict. Feel awkward about this Deafening Silence. Maybe go down a win condition, down a dress down. It's an Urza Saga deck though. Feel weird doing that. I think this is fine despite having 1 land. But I do think I need to hold up Consigned to Memory on turn 1. If I don't use the mana, I will just Lorien Revealed and cycle Tundra Pass. Workshop, Bauble. That is fine. I can potentially just Prismatic Ending that away if I care about it. Not 100% sure that I do. Going to grab a Volk for now, even though I have boarded in a Blood Moon. This Vexing Bauble is currently not that relevant. I think I'm going to leave it there for now and just cast Ponder. I don't think I'm into that stuff. The 3rd land is okay, but I don't think I want 2 of... Snapcaster? Okay, I'll take Snapcaster. Snapcaster, Consigned to Memory, pretty good. Do I just counter that trigger? That might be greedy. With Snapcaster, though? With Snapcaster, though, that's maybe not too greedy. Just fully try to keep my opponent off balance. I think I let that one resolve. Like, I think I am well equipped to deal with the Urza Saga. I just wanted to keep my opponent from casting some spells in the short term. So, yeah. Ew. Get rid of Galvanic Discharge and a land. Then fetch. It's a little awkward. If I get a basic here, I'm playing towards making Blood Moon good, but I have 2 Phlages and 1 Blood Moon, and I kind of want white for temporary lockdown as well. I think I'm just grabbing a Tundra here. Yeah, so let's land drop pass, and then we can just do something like Swords, Snapcaster, Swords. I think I am comfortable doing one of these now. Saga ticks up. Just on the off chance that I were to get Pithing Needled, I think I should do this. And ignore the existence of my Singleton Blood Moon at this point. Mox Opal. There's a land drop. I think I'm letting that happen. I think I'm saving Snapcaster. I'm just going to Prismatic Ending this for 1 mana on my own turn. Oh. Well. I'm still into this. I think I need to hold up Snapcaster consigned to memory for the next turn cycle. I think I don't want to get caught up with trying to win the game and put myself in a negative position. Oh, so much mana. I mean, that feels like bait, but I think it's bait that I'm taking. Consigned to memory. One might be blowing me out with the K command. Yeah, that's rough. Now my opponent gets to tutor for something. Yeah. So this is going to be a Mycosynth Lattice, meaning that I'm not going to get to cast spells from here. I can Swords to Plowshare as a spawn, but this Karn is protected enough where I don't think I win from here. Like, I think my opponent needs to actively make mistakes. So I send at Karn. Yeah, opponent just blocks. So now from here, they can just plus on their Lattice and win the game eventually somehow. Or potentially do something cool this turn as well. Yeah, sure, that is the same overall effect. My opponent knows what's going on at this point. I'm gonna go ahead and concede here. I don't think I have the best tools for this matchup without extra copies of like Magus of the Moon, Back to Basics, Blood Moon, whatever. Alright, not a big fan of this one. I don't have any manipulation. I don't have enough mana. We are really reliant on a Brainstorm to fix this one. I think I'll risk this after the mulligan. And I think I'm going to throw back Galvanic Discharge. I'm very likely to get a Tundra here. And my follow-up mana is not guaranteed, so if I can try to play this game temporarily on 2 colors, that might be preferable. That's fine. I will Swords to Plowshares that on the first turn. Okay, cool. So Tundra plus Mountain, in theory, is my colors. Wasteland, definitely a little bit scary right now, but that is what it is. Cool. Thoughtseize is resolving. It gets to take my Brainstorm, which is probably just incredible here. Yeah. Oh. Yes. Hopefully we just draw an island off the top next turn, and this is not a problem. My Temporary Lockdown becomes harder to cast now. Yeah. I have to be pretty selective with this Force of Will. This Force of Will has to basically only counter things that are going to kill me, because I will be stuck for an indeterminate amount of time here. There's the fetch to shuffle that. Thunder not doing it for me. Might get an end of turn Surveil land here. And they like their card. Yeah, you can have that. So at this point, we can probably rule out the fact that my opponent is just like on, yikes, traditional blue-black Reanimator. Baleful Strix is even slower than most of the tempo deck lists. I would not be overly surprised if we end up seeing a third color and this deck has white. It feels like they're trying to go slightly bigger than some of the other blue-black decks in the metagame. PYROGOYF wouldn't surprise me either here. Like just a pile of good blue-black mid-range cards. I'm going to be aware of Orcish Bowmasters in game 1. Yeah, that's fine. I'm not casting these anyway. Do with them what you will. Okay, my opponent does take a force. 18. More Ponder. So I think what's about to happen is that my opponent is going to play a Murktide Regent, I'm going to Force of Will it, and then they're going to Force of Will back, and then I die very quickly. Because my opponent took a Force of Will last turn, which is kind of weird, unless there is like a very specific plan where they need me to not have 2 Force of Wills. Okay, double days instead, but same principle. Yep. So I need runner of white land and white removal spell. Otherwise, Murktide Regent bullies me. Ow. Actually, I don't care about that. That's just not relevant. But my opponent has dealt 8 points of damage to themselves. But I am literally on a 2-turn clock, so if I miss this draw here, I am just out of this. Alright, so if our opponent is doing fair blue stuff, I can potentially just get rid of my Force of Wills. Like, my opponent is trying to 1-for-1 me. Like, I can just play Pyroblasts to help on that front, and play Ghost Vacuum to keep fair graveyard stuff in check if I would like. I could play something like Comet, just assuming that my opponent's deck is a little bit slower. My dress downs also probably don't really matter. Yeah? It's not that dress down does literal nothing. Force of Negation in that slot. That's not super exciting either. Let's keep 1 dress down. It might occasionally do something kind of cool. Even just for the Phlage synergies within my own deck list. This is a weird one. Ghost Vacuum from turn 1 helps keep Murktide Regent style cards in threat, but works against the double PYROGOYF hand that I otherwise have. Oh, that's very awkward. I'm gonna keep it, but it's very awkward. So let's throw down Ye Old Vacuum. And the whole point of throwing down a Ghost Vacuum early is to keep a Murktide Regent from ever getting into play, which means aggressively attack the graveyard as I have the opportunity to do so. More land is not what I want here. Alright, we're going to see an end of turn Surveil land, and opponent keeps their card. Now I do have enough mana with this hand that the flavor text of Ghost Vacuum could end up becoming live. Get out of here, Polluted Delta. The small size of my PYROGOYF, meaning that it's not active removal for Frog, is a little awkward. This as my draw is also a little bit awkward. Not much to be done there. I'm gonna start this game off on basics, I think. So, weird subgame to be played here. So I cast Galvanic Discharge on a Psychic Frog. My opponent will presumably discard 2 cards to make Psychic Frog live through this. At which point I can choose to just not pay energy and save this energy for later. A second Spell Bomb. So Galvanic Discharge was Hymn to Torok. I am okay with that. So we will choose to pay 0. PYROGOYF is currently a 3/4. I would like 1 other card type to end up in graveyard. I will probably eat 1 copy of Spell Bomb from graveyard. I would like to keep the number of cards in graveyard in a non-multiple of 3, so Psychic Frog can't nuke all of it, so I think that means that I eat this immediately. Frog can come in, hit me for 3. That's, air quotes, fine. And then we see if anything follows it up. We're hoping no. That is a thing. I'm not overly concerned with that right now. Like, Ghost Vacuum can keep that in check. It's just, like, kind of weird with PYROGOYF. Fuck. So that means that PYROGOYF can no longer actually kill Psychic Frog if my opponent is playing tight. I can Ghost Vacuum first. Although I guess all my opponent does is discard 1 more card, and the PYROGOYF isn't really killing it anyway. Oh my god, thank you. Thank you. Let's get a basic. Drop a new land. Desperately hope that Swords to Plowshares resolves. Ooh, nice. And pass the turn. I think I take 1 more from Nethergoyf and just remove a Ponder immediately. Just kind of respecting Murktide Regent immediately. I would like those cards to remain in graveyard so my PYROGOYFs hit like a truck. It's been a weird game of Magic. You may brainstorm. Wasteland as follow-up, which is not currently doing anything. I guess I need to check on how many basics are in this deck. Plains, Island, Mountain, Island. Okay. So we can play around this. Not literally indefinitely, but for a while. Taking 3 is fine. Down to 12. A new Psychic Frog. So I have instant and land available in my own graveyard. Okay, cool. Do I make my opponent go heavily in on it and then just like play another Pyrogoyf next turn? No, because fuck, and they can just like wasteland themselves to put another card in there as well. I think I'm just gonna buy a little bit of time here. Notably, I should have put my Scalding Tarn in play first in case something like Double Daze is online here. All right, we're in play. We're taking Psychic Frog out of play. Don't want that other land. I have Instants in my own graveyard. I can safely vacuum out a Brainstorm and pass. My opponent will presumably just attack down to Fairy here to turn their spells back on. Yes, that is happening. And then hopefully I just do like Pyrogoyf plus one other relevant card of some kind. There's now a Planeswalker in my graveyard. So I will have land instant Planeswalker at a minimum. I have at least 3. No shuffle there. Psychic Frog comes back. Fuck yeah. Do I have 2 basic red sources? No, I do not. That's maybe okay. So, this can just be another basic. Cast a Pyrogoyf. That is a Force of Will pitching a Daze. If my opponent nukes these 3 cards, they could discard both cards in their hand to keep Psychic Frog alive, at which point I just play another Pyrogoyf next turn, and that's fine? Yes. This has to get me a new red source. Spend at Force of Will. I could have fetched another land first to not get caught by like Wasteland on fetch land into Daze. Alright, so let's send 5 at Psychic Frog and see if my opponent reacts to that. They do not react to that. Let's exile an instant from your yard, shrink your Goyf without shrinking mine. Next turn I can potentially just deal 18 damage to my opponent. This is wastelandable, so we're not maybe working towards a 6-mana version of this immediately. Yep. Land drop. I think this is the first turn all game that a Murktide is castable. That's a Surveil land. Junking a land. Oh damn, I think I was successfully playing around a Murktide all game. This is probably a Murktide that is just going to eat it to a Pyrogoyf. It will eat it to a Pyrogoyf trigger, but it does take both Pyrogoyf triggers, unfortunately. Well, or not. 0 cards in hand. Pyroblast Murktide Regent. Get out. Fetch. Pick up red source. Cast Pyrogoyf. 1 trigger. Left Nethergoyf. 1 trigger. Right Nethergoyf. Take both of those out. We'll vacuum one of the 2 away immediately. Weird fucking game with a lot of tension, but boy, that was a cool game of Magic. Pyrogoyf doing some fucking work there. I think we're good with the board plan. I don't think I want to go like surgical or fairy levels of deep here. I think the Ghost Vacuum is good enough. Alright, I don't think my hand is impressive here, but like we have a Swords to Plowshares in the opening hand and some mana. That's probably good enough for me to start. I will consider not swordsing this immediately to just play around Daze. The Nethergoyf is also not threatening to deal me very much damage immediately unless some other cards start coming into play. Hate that. This kind of forces my hand on the Swords to Plowshares if I want to be able to remove creatures, which I do, but then that means that my opponent can take my 4th Airlingas, and like this turns on a Daze that I didn't really want to be on. Alright. Oh, this is where not having a Surveil land also bites me in the butt. Hopefully I just top deck better than my opponent. Oh, there was the Daze. 1 card deeper and we would have been in trouble. Oh, that's hot. That's hot. Now that covers a Psychic Frog or Murktide Regent at some point this game. We're not going to use that on cards like Ponder. This is for premium spells since I don't have other removal. And with 5 lands here, I probably hold Lorien Revealed and don't fire that off immediately. That's awkward. I think I'm going to take another draw. If I draw a 3-drop, I get punished for not Pyroblasting this immediately. Let's grab basics here. And we want to do this while my opponent is tapped out, I think. I don't want them to brainstorm in response and then things get awkward. So we're just trying to hold until Lorien Revealed is good. Looks like a large Murktide Regent. That is resolving. With nothing else to do here, I think I'm going to play around double days. Ah! Okay. We'll try to get rid of that. I am so punished for not doing Path to Exile on their turn. I guess not. Comet can't hit 6. Comet can hit 5. So on my next turn, I cast a Lorien Revealed. I draw 3, and then I try to draw into a Pyroblast, Swords to Plowshares, whatever that answers Murktide Regent. Teferi would be fine. Take 6. Effectively on a 2-turn clock, like I will almost certainly need to fetch. Strix is fine. I don't think I need to fetch immediately. Galvanic Discharge is interesting, but perhaps not good. With this many basics, I'm just going to grab like a Plateau here or something for some variety. Actually, maybe it's another Tundra or Volk. I could not Lorien Revealed. I could cast Comet, try to high roll Comet, and then Galvanic Discharge. What portion of the time do I deal 5? Kind of 50% if you squint at it and count the +6. Yeah, let's roll the dice here. This does have some pretty cool upside. All right, Comet, don't do me dirty. Oh, fuck, I was supposed to fetch fucking Plateau. Okay, so now that these squirrels are in play, I Galvanic Discharge... Do I? I Galvanic Discharge Baleful Strix. My opponent is potentially having to attack Comet so that Comet can't kill them. No, wrong target. Yeah. I think I'm into this. So let's discharge Strix, paying 1 into it, send in for 2. My opponent can put me on a 2-turn clock, but then everything except a 1 or 2 on Comet is going to beat their Murktide Regent. So I can just get back Path to Exile with it. Yeah. So they attack Comet, and then we just kind of see where this goes from here. Oh, fuck. That fucking sucks. Spell Pierce, not what I'm looking for here. So I need to answer Murktide Regent on my next draw. I don't think I get to cast Lorien Revealed and give my opponent 3 Bowmaster triggers here. Because right now the Squirrel token checks these 2. I think I am hoping to just get a little lucky on the next draw. That's fine. I don't think I Spell Pierce that. That is occurring. Where is my Supreme Verdict, though? Okay. That at least keeps me alive. Not necessarily the most pleasant thing in the world, but that gets this Murktide Regent that is otherwise killing me out of play. It comes at the cost of one of these squirrels or 1 point of life. Snapcaster Mage. Snapcaster Mage. Oh, going for the Teferi instead, sure. Lorien Revealed perhaps does not get to be a land anymore. Or sorry, it does not get to be a spell anymore with Bowmaster in play. I may be taking Bowmaster out of play, but that is far from guaranteed. I think I'm just going to play out another land and pass. The Snapcaster Mage is checked by the Spell Bomb some portion of the time. We'll see. Yep. The beefy graveyard going away. Maybe next turn I draw a removal spell and I like remove Bowmaster, remove Nethergoyf, and I'm not actually in that bad of shape. I needed Comet not to roll that 1 or 2. Ponder is fine. If I get the chance to snap off Spell Pierce on a card, I might just take it at this point. My margins are really tight on this game, so if I get the opportunity to make a favorable trade, I might just need to take it to just claw somewhere back into this. Like this is hitting for 5, so I'm presumably chump blocking this and then taking some other damage somewhere else. Yeah, so I think I chump here, take 2, save Snapcaster. I'm at 4. Murktide? Thoughtseize. I need to protect Snapcaster. So I will Spell Pierce that. And then hopefully we draw live. Ooh. Supreme Verdict. Temporary Lockdown. Prismatic Ending? Ending? I might just need to take out the big things. So Junk Nethergoyf. Snappy. Target ending. Ending the other Nethergoyf. I'm not going to call myself stable. My opponent still has 2 cards here. But there is nothing scary attacking me immediately. You know, I'm on roughly a 2-turn clock if things go wrong, and I might still need to just top deck an answer to something like a Murktide Regent if my call on that was correct from last turn. which unfortunately it was. It is a 2/3 Pyrogoyf. Please. Okay. What if Snapcaster dies? So attack, block, becomes 3/4 Pyrogoyf. That still doesn't kill Murktide Regent. What if block, block? No, that doesn't change it. Damn. GG's. My opponent has mulligan to 5 cards. I have a Force of Will and something to potentially pitch to it. That might get me out of the first couple of turns. I would love to be able to kind of brainstorm and shore this up. I don't know exactly what we are playing against yet. Like an aggressive mull to 5 coupled with Wooded Foothills could be like a Storm deck. It could just be some mid-range deck that had a clunky start. Basic Forest, probably not Storm. Noble Hierarch, I will answer that with other resources. Gaia's Cradle, sure. Quirion Ranger, also sure. I think I am down for mana efficiency to just use Brainstorm here. I want to dump cards into Graveyard for Phlage. I will get a Valkyr so that I have all of my colors, but sometimes I want white next turn. Not this time. So I think I do want access to Force of Will as an oh shit button. I'll probably keep a blue card to pitch to that. I will probably keep the non-basic lands here. Get rid of this land, redraw some random card. I don't mind the shuffle as to not look at that basic plains again. We'll grab a Tundra. I will ponder. Ooh, Supreme Verdict is probably pretty good. Let's bury Ponder of these. And then I think I'm going to ending away Noble Hierarch here. So the goal is to just make it through the next turn cycle or so. Next turn, I can Phlage a creature out of play. I can Force of Will something else to buy some time. I just want to counter that and then Phlage Quirion Ranger out of play. Kind of. Yeah. Given my really good removal options here, I think I'm just down with that. Alright, so my opponent is bouncing their forest to play another thing here. Or just untap their forest. I'm cool with that either way. Alright. Fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and Phlage, take out the Ranger, and then we have our win condition for a little bit later. I have to be a little careful with the timing of it because of Supreme Verdict, but yeah. We just kind of exhausted our opponent on resources there. So the big thing we don't know yet is whether or not our opponent is playing Nadu. I conceptually like Containment Priest for Green Sun. I don't know that I'm going to be interested in Blood Moon. I have some kind of strict mana requirements while playing Phlage, so while shutting off something like a Gaia's Cradle might be important, I don't know that I'm going to do that. I'll probably get rid of Spell Pierce for Containment Priest. Spell Pierce sometimes will do some really cool stuff, but frequently won't. I can think about Comet as another fair card. I can think about going down Force of Wills. If I'm not worrying about Natural Order specifically, then Force of Will is not the best, but I do kind of want to respect Natural Order. Force of Will is also just something that gets me out of the early game and gets me to my bigger stuff. I could see getting rid of Narset. Just play more cards that destroy elves. That seems fine. 3 Force of Wills is 1 more Force of Will than I might like, but I have 2 removal spells here. Assuming I draw any land, this hand is fine. Like, I would be perfectly happy with this as a 6. I think I'm just going to keep it as an awkward 7 accordingly. I'm hoping that my opponent just plays out a Mana Dork from hand that I can Prismatic Ending. Yes, that's fine. That's a Ponder. That gives me something to do on turn 2. And if worst came to worse, I could double Force of Will. I would really not like to do that, but I could do that. And we are seeing the tropical island here that may be indicative of our opponent actually having Nadu in their deck. Bird results. So, we will ponder. I mean, yeah? Alright. I am okay with that. Those weren't conceptually the things that I thought I was looking for, but they were the things that I got. That just all goes away, right, with temporary lockdown? I think that all goes away, in which case that's fine. So, fetch, we'll grab a Tundra, we'll temporary lockdown, exile both of those, sets my opponent back quite a bit. We've got Force of Will for any, yeah, Fuck, that was a beating for our opponent. With one more land, we're fine. Maybe. Like, if we are playing against a fair creature deck and we hit one more land, like, we almost certainly just win the game. And if we're playing against a, you know, Dark Ritual Doomsday style deck, we just punt this hand. I think I'm okay with these odds. Looted Delta and pass, and we hit the next land drop. I think I'm just going to lead on basic planes and pass. All right, no end of turn Entomb. That is great for me. All right, Tundra probably means that this is going to be a fair, slower matchup, in which case we're doing A-okay. I get slightly punished for playing planes over a fetch land last turn by not being able to ponder shuffle immediately. I still don't 100% know what I'm looking for. There's an argument to just cast the ponder, but if I cast ponder, I'm casting it into potentially active Orcish Bowmasters, which is the sort of mid-range EBS that I might be expecting from Polluted Delta Tundra. Like, I'm on kind of the, like, Stoneblade style mid-range call for what my opponent might be doing here. Yeah, seeing a basic, this is going to be a slower deck. Yeah, take a peek. You get to see this. PYROGOYFs are going to be thick as fuck in this matchup. I think my best card is the Swords to Plowshares. Opponent disagrees. It takes the thick PYROGOYF, which is already a 4/5. Baleful Strix is fine. I'll probably just, like, Phlage that away. Now, it's a little weird. I don't want triple basic here because of Phlage, and I do want to bring Phlage back. I think I am getting one Volk, one Tundra here, and we'll Phlage, take out the Strix, and see where we go from here. Baleful Strix. This is, in theory, fine. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ponder can be 5. There's potentially counterspells over there that I need to think about. I could just shove forth Airlingas. I think I'll just set up with Ponder. These Ponders are safe from something like a Bowmasters as of right now. I'd probably like to see land +1 relevant spell. I mean, yeah. That's not exactly like the paragon of efficiency that I would like to see. But I think it's very likely that I do want 2 Phlages this game because my opponent is on white removal. So just taking out these creatures without it really costing me a card, air quotes there, is probably positive. There is a Psychic Frog. So I can't answer this 2 ways in one turn easily. I would like to Temporary Lockdown this card. If my opponent has Spell Pierce and I play Temporary Lockdown before making the next land drop, it's awkward. I can Ponder, try to find an answer. So if I Temporary Lockdown and it doesn't work, I can then Ponder, try to find white land, Swords to Plowshares, Psychic Frog. I think I'm going to do this. I still just have reasonable play afterwards if this is countered. It is fucking Spell Pierce. Alright. So now we try to find white land to Swords to Plowshares, and I do succeed. So we will fetch and be a plateau. I'm a little upset if this is Daze as well. It is not. Cool. That's slightly annoying. That's not a problem at all. Path to Exile. And it just works. Now I'm going to become the pretty princess playing around Daze, I think. I probably want to tap that differently, so we'll go like red, white from here, leave up white afterwards. Do this for x equals 2. Bash in for 4. We have double Phlage available. Orcish Bowmasters could be a little weird with Monarch. Strix is happening. That just gets Phlaged. That's fine. That doesn't have power and toughness. That does flip that, though, which is slightly annoying. Because Baleful Strix was the second draw. This will be the third. Transform. +4. Which is hopefully not that big of a deal. 6, 7. I think I just play one of these. So there's lands aplenty over there. Let's get rid of a bunch of lands. Plenty of instants. So I will Phlage. I'm going to kill Strix. This potentially leaves the Tamiyo in play some portion of the time for a little while. Like a 1-mana removal spell here can potentially let the Tamiyo minus, but it's not exactly getting back good things right now. So this is just hopefully fine. I'd love to draw a blue card here. Okay, it is swords here instead. That's fine. I have another one. I also have PYROGOYF. There's my blue card. Yeah, this is fine. Yeah, I'm not messing with that. This is definitely the sort of stuff that I want to play against, just like slower blue decks where these absolute fucking haymakers that I have can do some serious work. 3 mana? A Goyf? A Teferi? No, we'll just say no to that. Like with my opponent having one card, this just seems perfectly fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I think I'm just going to see if I successfully deal 2 to Tamiyo. These are going to get smaller. This makes it so that a removal spell never stops me from killing the Tamiyo. Then I can Phlage. There's instants aplenty. There's plenty of sorceries over there as well. Take out another instant. Bring back Phlage. Phlage enters. We'll finish Tamiyo. My opponent could be at 1 lower. I just don't think that it matters. Like, I'm the Monarch. I have 10 power in play. I have PYROGOYF to finish my opponent. It's just bigger than even like the Murktide Regents that they're going to play. Yeah, that's fine. Let's send in for 4. Keep the aggression up. Opponent's at 9. This is going to be 7 of that 9. That's brutal. And then any one of these creatures connecting is just game. Temporary Lockdown is fine. No end of turn flash creature to potentially steal Monarch. Dominating performance. So I like the idea of Comet Stellar Pup. I like the idea of Pyroblast. What all did we see? We saw Tamiyo. I don't know how good the Ghost Vacuums are without seeing a little bit more of their deck. The Dress Downs are perhaps not good. They could have some text versus something like a Stoneforge Mystic. I don't really have disenchant effects here. If my opponent is doing Stoneforge stuff, I can bounce it out of play with the Teferi or exile with Temporary Lockdown, potentially. I guess I have Prismatic Ending. That's a good catch-all. If I want these, I can maybe go down one of these. I think this is fine enough. Like, with a little more information, I can evaluate how good, like, Ghost Vacuum, Consigned to Memory, Forced of Negation, Blood Moon can be. Like, I don't know if my opponent is just going to, like, value Reanimate at some point. This is fine. Like, we have lands and spells. I have plenty of threats. I don't think I need to be in a rush here. Okay, cool. I'm going to ponder. I basically don't want lands. Most other spells are fine. I don't want 2 of these 3. We'll shuffle. We take a land. But it's fine. I potentially just, like, Brainstorm to pad this hand next turn. And a fetch to clear. A Tamiyo, which I will swords. I don't want to give my opponent a source of card advantage here. Don't mind that. I'm probably in a position where I can just fetch a basic here without it biting me in the butt later. So let's just take out this creature, call it a turn. You could make an argument that I should Brainstorm right there before something like an Orcish Bowmasters could come down and influence how good that Brainstorm would be. That's fine. That's fine. I will, again, just Swords to Plowshares that. This is altogether too many lands. So, Swords that. Make land drop. I know I want to get rid of these lands, so I'm just going to Brainstorm now while it is safe. Snapcaster a little awkward versus an active Spellbomb, but I just physically do not need this many lands. I think I am comfortable sending 2 of those lands back, even though it means that I am having an inefficient Snapcaster Mage. I may be able to play it at a time where my opponent doesn't draw the card. If Teferi resolves. Teferi pluses to 5. I have a 4th Aerlingas that I can play. Tundra? Maybe Volk. Supreme Verdict not ideal here. I think I am into jamming 4th Aerlingas here. I get to do this for X equals 2. We're in there. So we're going to send 1 at the player and 1 at the Teferi to lower its loyalty. I will become the Monarch. Teferi goes to 3. Additional lands aren't what I'm looking for. I want spot removal so that when my opponent throws down a creature, I have defenses against it. Like, I can Supreme Verdict if I have to, but I would kind of prefer not to, at least until the Teferi is off the board. My opponent's got something on 3 mana. They might have a Murktide Regent that they were just 1 mana short of casting. New Teferi, sure. So this is favorable to me. I am still the Monarch here. I can play a Snapcaster, just sorcery speed, and force my opponent to clear the graveyard for Spellbomb right now. And then they don't ever get a card back for this. Yeah, I think I'm good with that. I want another white here. So this is Sorcery Speed Snapcaster Mage. Target 4th Aerlingas. Opponent cracks Spellbomb. So this is an okay exchange for us. Now, despite my Supreme Verdict here, I think I'm just going to continue jamming mid-range cards. Like, with the Monarch cards just coming and coming and coming, it's okay if I hemorrhage some resources. I would like to be able to attack and kill this Teferi. I have things that I would like to do. And I want that flexibility of when I get to do them. Yes, that's fine. Sure. Love that. Oh, my opponent has Bowmasters. Oh, instant speed Thoughtseize, and I can't respond at instant speed because of Teferi. That's cute. So, I'm not, like, super interested in this land. I think I'm going to loot that. The rest of the cards are fine. I'm going to double attack into Teferi and see how my opponent feels about that. I am okay trading Swords to Plowshares, or sorry, Baleful Strix for one of these creatures. Okay, cool. So that's dead. Now I'll Sword Strix so my opponent can't become the Monarch. Let's actually brainstorm here, because I can brainstorm and then ponder to shuffle. Force of Will is live. Probably don't need Supreme Verdict next turn. Bury that. Like, I am the creature deck now. So we'll just Phlage. I guess I'm going to get the Supreme Verdict back anyway, because of Monarch. Opponent's at 11. This deck is doing its thing. Hydroblast, sure. But that could have been done in a way that did not allow me to loot. I'm just going to let that happen. Nah. You don't get that. Opponent has a bunch of spell bombs. That's a big one. Like, I'll Supreme Verdict it away. It's slightly awkward for me, but like, I have the Phlage hanging out. White, blue, white, blue. This is uncounterable. Draw my card. Spell Pierce is not ideal at this point of the game, but might catch something. Okay. Phlage helps with that. Absolutely fucking disgusting. So I will Phlage. Red, red, white, white. I have Pyrogoyfs. They have PYROGOYFs. I think I'm going to respect Snapcaster Mage here. Keep some number of instants and sorceries in there. I can get rid of this. Get rid of that. So we're going to cast Phlage. Phlage is going to target Psychic Frog here. Yeah, I don't think I need to be worried about the timeline. I don't think I have to just kill my opponent in 2 turns here. My opponent junks a land to put a +1/+1 counter on Psychic Frog. And then they can junk a second card to put a +1/+1 counter on Psychic Frog. I'm going to let this trigger resolve. I'm going to gain my life. And then I am going to just fucking Pyroblast the Frog now that my opponent has gone all in on it with my treasure token that's over here. Just absolutely fucking disgusting. We are doing a bully over here. I guess I'll brainstorm in response to that to see if I spike a Force of Will or something. Nope. Alright. The game continues on. But the game is continuing on where I have an absolutely massive pile of removal. Like, I have 3 different removal cards here. That's fine. I will probably trade Spell Pierce for the first spell that I can physically trade for. That Ponder Shuffle, that Ponder Shuffled. This is fine. So, throw down a Pyrogoyf, which is threatening 6 damage directly at our opponent's face. It's going to be Snapcaster Hydroblast. So I will Spell Pierce that Hydroblast. There's Hydroblast. Here's Spell Pierce. I'll Galvanic Discharge the Snapcaster Mage. So send that damage to face. Galvanic Discharge here. And we do take down the opponent here. GG's. Alright. I feel a little strangely about this one. When this deck was working, it's so good. This deck absolutely fucks when you like have the Monarch or when you have Phlage and you have decent control of the game. But it's a little clunky. There's a lot of red and white cards that don't necessarily pitch to Force of Will within this deck list. The deck that I took as a starting point was definitely an energy-based deck, so there are some little hiccups in trying to just slightly tune that to become a temporary lockdown deck. Dress Down probably underperformed this league. Galvanic Discharge was okay. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. The random Path to Exile that I threw in the main deck was fine. The Fable PYROGOYF stuff was fine. You maybe don't get away with everything that I was playing here. There absolutely should be at least one Surveil land in this deck. Narset is a very powerful card. Didn't necessarily do much this league. Sideboard stuff felt pretty good. I'm going to say that my deck building is ever so slightly sketch, but this might be on the right track if you want to be messing around with Temporary Lockdown. But is this going to be better than just doing Wrath of the Skies? That I'm not really sure. The couple of times that we did cast Temporary Lockdown, it was pretty good. Like against the green player being able to take out, I think it was a bird and a bestowed Springheart and Nantuko at the same time was pretty good. And that's going to get a thumbs up from me. PYROGOYF continues to be PYROGOYF, and I love this card. He is my son. And with that, I think I'll call it a day here. Folks, if you need some magic cards, you know where to go. Promo code ThrabenU to let them know that I sent you, and they should keep supporting my content. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya!